Welcome to Diaries of a Data Scientist, our podcast in which we share about what's important to break into data science, provide valuable insights also for senior data scientists, and invite interesting guests from different data science areas. We're 𝐼𝐿𝐼𝐻 and Kate. We're both data scientists and mentors working in industry, and we are sharing here our thoughts and experiences. Let's go. Hello everyone, this is Kate and Yasmin from Diaries of a Data Scientist. You're listening or watching to episode 14, and today we have an awesome topic for you as we are giving you our top 5 questions asked as data science mentors and how we usually answer them.
So maybe just to start with, and we're going to talk about the most interesting but also most frequently asked questions from our mentees, and maybe not also our mentees, but our colleagues at work or freshers in the data science that got a student position, or as in like leaders in the organizations. And I propose to start with the first one, which is the most frequently asked one. Let's say that you do have a bachelor in a totally different field. So you're not a mathematician, you're not a statistician. Let's say that you have a bachelor in arts or in law. Do you have any chances, after all, to get into the data science field? And what is going to be the learning journey? I will add to this one, but Yasmin, I want to ask you first.
Yes, I agree. I think this is really the most common question I also got, because I mean that's the point where many people try to find a data science mentor, right? Because they feel they would be completely lost without it, since they are moving from a different field into that into the universe of data science. And that one example that just stayed in my mind the most was a young woman who worked in tourism. And then COVID hit and she had to rethink her career. And then she moved to England, to the UK, to study data science there with completely no experience upfront in the IT area. And yes, it's definitely possible. Now, how to start? And I think it's mostly really, really important that you have a very more structured plan. You can't just, say, I'm just going to take a look and learn and take this course and then the other course. So I think the best thing is really to move into a very much structured program, really considering going back to university, to be honest. I don't know how you feel about that, Kate.
Yeah, definitely. So this is what I've heard a lot from the mentees, that they're maybe feel a little bit afraid or even like desperate in that kind of path, because it will require a lot from your side. But the first thing that I'm saying, it's not impossible. And definitely, if you would love to go in there, you have to pursue your, let's say, a dream data science position. And then afterwards, what I would definitely suggest that you would love to showcase the skills. Important to understand as a first plan step is where you would love to work. Would you love to work in the startups, or you are more the corporate, like enterprise person? Because this will decide your approach, and this will also can decide which kind of skills the hiring managers are going to look for. And as an example in here, I always give a story that I have said personally, that in one of the startups, it was 85 people in the company. They were looking for a data scientist just finishing a Udemy course. So they were not even looking for data scientists, like data analysts with the actual bachelor and master degree in that field. So that is why you need to a little bit have of the research on that question. And that following from this kind of basic understanding, I would say that definitely if you would love to go to the enterprises, you will need to have an appropriate master degree. And it can be, statistics, mathematics, data science, computer science. What else do we have? We have
physics is also quite popular, right? Going into area of also robotics. Basically anything where you also have a lot of maybe simulation analysis. We also have many people from the area of bioinformatics.
Yes. What else do we have?
Very diverse.
Business informatics, right?
Yeah, business informatics, of course. And I think, I also had mentees who did not choose to go with the university road and said, look, I've just finished my master's. I don't want to go back and do yet another one,
Yes.
right? And then the question, of course, came up, how can I still break into data science and be successful? And I think
Yeah.
there, of course, with most of the companies, you really have to build trust in your abilities if you don't have, and that's very sad, right? Because in the end, it should
Mm-hmm.
matter that you have the skills. But it's still
Yep.
the question of, does the hiring manager has the trust in you that you have the skills? And,
Mm-hmm.
people say, okay, if you have the master's degree, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
He,
this is already building
would
trust,
you
right? So I
believe
think
you?
exactly. So,
Mm-hmm.
building your portfolio, doing hacker
Perfect.
competitions, doing internships, collecting references,
Um,
sharing what you're doing on LinkedIn and having an active GitHub profile, things like that. This is
Definitely.
building trust. And I think this is where you then really have to maybe put in a little bit more work than someone who has a bachelor
Mm-hmm.
master's degree in the area and, maybe one on an internship because they
Mm-hmm.
have the degree speaking for them.
Yeah. It was a little bit for me a surprise shock when I saw people that would love to get into the data field, but they do not have LinkedIn accounts. Because for me, it's like a very sort of basic, it's like your um, advertisement of your personal brand, and that is why you will need to have a LinkedIn account. And also I find it very fascinating when freshers in the data science field, they will go through different courses, for example, on like in the university or like Udemy, whatever, and they will summarize their learnings and make a post out of this by already showcasing their abilities, and as you said, building
Mhm.
trust with the hiring manager. But yeah, please do the Kaggle competitions, having the GitHub account, trying internships, working students positions, and definitely go through different interviews because, as we mentioned already, this in the previous episodes, um, interviews for the data positions are not the most straightforward ones, and you sometimes have no idea what to expect in there. You need to
We
have a
we
little bit of
even have
skills.
2 full episodes on this topic because it definitely is
Yeah.
something you need to prepare for. So, go ahead and check that out. But, Kate, so I don't know how it is about you, but, in
Hmm.
especially like as a follow-up question with the first one, usually, the topic comes up on, there's so many data science bootcamps. Can I not just do data science bootcamp instead of needing to go back to university? What is your take on this?
I'm getting angry usually when I hear this kind of question. And I would always say that it's sort of really a cry from my heart. I'm not just saying that because this is a very beautiful phrase, but this is because I really believe in what I'm thinking about that field. That um, I really think that we do have kind of the information bias. And this information bias and information asymmetry is happening because we do have AI immature organizations, companies, startups, they that would love to have that they even like think that a data scientist is something that will be able to develop I don't know, websites, applications, do actual data science with machine learning, analyze the data, be a data manager. So pretty much they're looking at one person instead of five very like skilled people in their like very specific fields. And also I see kind of the other side where people would love to get to the data science because of the whole hype around that field. And also we always remember that a beautiful article from the Harvard University saying that data science job is the sexiest job of the 21st century. And that is why people got into this field like being totally enthusiastic, thinking that it's only about coding Python function like decision tree, and then forgot about the whole math that's going to be in there. And that is why what I'm saying all the time, that the first kind of argument is that up until very recently, we needed to have PhDs in order to get a data science position. Right now, especially if you would love to be a team lead.
Yes, or more in the research kind of
Mhm.
area, right? Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just cannot get into this field without having a PhD, even nowadays, I would say, in most of the companies. Uh, this is the first part. The second part is that we need to remember that data science is applied in very crucial fields of our daily life as a human. So, for example, if you go to the pharmacy, I have the goosebumps right now. If you go to the pharmacy and you say, I don't know, I need to have this pill to take after the meal 3 times a day, and for seven days in a row. This is not because it just like got out of sudden. It was because people got validated those parameters and factors based on machine learning, and data science helped them to validate that.
You have a huge responsibility, right? Depending on
Definitely.
the area. Yeah.
Of course, all the cancer vaccines, all treatments are validated with the help of machine learning. And can you imagine if you will be able just to call Python function and having no idea what is happening behind those algorithms?
Yeah, I do agree. I think a bootcamp can be a good starting point,
Mm-hmm.
just to get a good overview about the topic. Maybe, figuring out what are the parts that you're most interested in, or even helping you figure out what maybe role could be the right
Mm-hmm.
one of you in the whole data science pipeline, right?
Yes.
But I absolutely agree. I don't see it for the most part, not in the traditional
Mm-hmm.
sense of a bootcamp. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, we also have like 15 months bootcamp. Is this really a bootcamp?
Yeah,
I don't know if you could call it like that. But,
definitely.
anything which is below 1 year and below like a proper structure of also getting a
Mm-hmm.
certain, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I would say breadth of topics, right? And seeing different things is not a good enough preparation. Of course, you can get with a bootcamp into a junior positions. As you said, there are enough
Mm-hmm.
companies. I think there's still a lot of scarcity in the area of talent. So you will absolutely be able to find a
Yes.
position. But I'm not sure if you would feel well prepared, and if you would be able to gather the necessary experience, just
Mm-hmm.
from the career side, because
Yeah,
for many things you need to have like a more proper background in maths and statistics
definitely.
and so on. Yes, you can build this on the
On the
go. You can build this next to it, but
Definitely.
you have to be super disciplined for it. And I can tell you,
Mm-hmm.
once you're entering a full-time job, your discipline about learning next to it 8 hours a day in addition
It's
is
not gonna work, yes.
it's
Well,
just not it's just not realistic for the majority of the people. There are people who are doing it, who
mm-hmm.
who are super disciplined and structured. You can
Mm-hmm.
you It's not impossible, but it's not a reality for the majority of people.
Yeah, it feels for me like this, when you are a teenager, this like maximalist that you do have, that I'm going to do like a lot of cool stuff and so on and so forth. You really have to be very disciplined and be very cautious about your time.
And your money, to be honest, right? Because data science bootcamps do not come for free.
Yeah, it's not 40
It's
dollars
it's
for
a it's a
something.
huge service area, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there are great offers, right? As mentioned, but as a
Mm-hmm.
starting point. But even then, check what you're getting for the money that you're putting in, and really check also, the quality of
Mm-hmm.
the material. Listen to other people who've went to that bootcamp, after 1 or 2 years, after then being
Yes.
actually able to assess the quality of what they've learned there, not directly after the bootcamp because they couldn't assess it,
Yeah,
right? You have to then start
definitely.
working. Yeah.
And also, what like just maybe to add to this topic a little bit, I got a lot of mentions that are getting totally surprised and desperate because even though that they have perhaps a master's degree in, let's say, data science or computer science, they got to the job market and then they see the applications for junior positions where it is, I don't know, like 3 years of experience is already required in there. So this is like, again, going back to this bootcamp conversation,
Yeah. Yeah.
trade-off.
This is like you're opening the box of the Pandora, right? Because I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
completely also a big problem actually in the field that too few companies are actually looking for juniors. So there's a huge demand in this kind of middle sector. Not
Yeah.
not for seniors because they're too expensive in terms of salary, but also you don't want to have a junior because they don't have the necessary experience yet. Maybe that's
Yes.
the thinking of some companies, right? And then most of the organizations are looking for this middle area. But
Yeah.
in order to get there, right, of course you need to build up the experience, so we need to
Definitely.
offer more opportunities to also juniors. It's not always
Yes.
possible, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But also in a team setup, you shouldn't have a team just of senior data scientists working together. You have to build your talent pipeline. You have to have a mixture of seniority in your team.
That's very, very nice advice. Um, so let's imagine that you got a position, let's say as a data scientist, or maybe you're not like still looking for this position. How else can you help yourself? Do you need to build any network uh, while going through the studies? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's actually also an incredibly common question. How do I get started with building a
Mm-hmm.
network? Because I think by now, also many early talents, many students are aware networking,
Mm-hmm.
having a network. Let's say it like that. Having a network seems to be important, seems to be relevant, but how do I
Mm-hmm.
get there? And especially now, also highlighting, right? If you are maybe like me, I don't know how it is for you, Kate, but my parents both did not study. They did not receive higher level education. So I was the
Mm-hmm.
first one in my family to get that and
Mm-hmm.
to then also study. So I honestly, like, I had no clear idea of what I was up for. And
Okay.
obviously then also my parents maybe do not have the network of other people in that more academic field. So I
Mm-hmm.
think especially if you're in that situation of the first time explorer in that area, it's incredibly important to start building your network. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say definitely LinkedIn can be a huge help. So definitely get an account, engage in comments, and also think about what is the kind of value that you can add to conversations. And I can promise you, even as a student, you can add a lot of value to conversations with your perspective. And for
Mm-hmm.
example, contribute to open source packages, right? Build a network of like-minded
Yeah.
people, also more senior people. Usually, developers who are working on open source, they're not doing this full time because it mostly doesn't pay
Yes.
you enough to do that. So they will have to have second jobs. Ask them about their job, ask them about the companies. And if you've
Mm-hmm.
built if you've built a trajectory with them and some rapport with them, you could also even ask them to facilitate and helping you with applications or recommendations, or being a reference for you that you can put on your
Definitely.
CV.
Yeah, this was my um, learning path to understand that the all opportunities are actually coming from the people. Because usually I was a very, let's say, introverted person,
Mm.
and I did not really see any value in the fact that I have to like put a lot of my energy and interact with people or ask questions or have any small talks. And this was definitely my lesson learned that all opportunities or like cool projects, best collaborations, everything are coming like from people.
Right, even just the point of, if you've built some friendships during university in your programs,
Hmm.
right, stay in touch with the people there, and observe a little bit how their careers are going, or just have like some catch ups at some time, and help each other out. You could even
Hmm.
discuss a little bit how the salaries are, and make a comparison for you, just to check, are you fairly compensated, right? I think that
Hmm.
is it's such important thing to also discuss and position yourself somehow. And I think it's the
Hmm.
same, right? So not saying you should only focus about your internal company network, very important, no discussion, but you
Definitely.
should also build like a network outside of the company, because it's just good to get in some outside perspectives, and
Yeah.
sometimes hit reality, and just checking also, like, what are others working on.
Mhm. And for me, it was very interesting recently research that I got to know about. It was, I guess, the research from the HR side about soft skills and tech skills,
Hmm.
specifically in the technical industries. And the outcome of the research was actually that the soft skills are getting much more stronger and significant while the interviewing process than your hard skills, because soft skills, it is something that is really extremely hard perhaps to learn, and maybe just like takes much more time to get in there, uh, rather than just hard skills.
Yeah. I think this is not a surprise to either of us, right,
Hmm.
Kate?
Yeah.
But for me, it matches so well with everything that's going on in the field of AI, right? Um, I
Hmm.
mean, there was this huge hype about this AI-based machine learning engineer. It has been debunked a little bit busted, but still, there's so much also help that AI can provide nowadays with coding and with the actual task of maybe generating content, right? But
Hmm.
what it can't do is the soft skill side. So,
Definitely.
connecting with people, um, trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out like who do I talk to, and bringing in fresh perspectives from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where it can help is things like storytelling, right? So you can definitely leverage AI tools to also build your soft skills, no
Yeah.
doubt. But this is why I think the focus on soft skills is just gonna get stronger in the field of data science as well over time.
Yeah, I just like decided to put it into our episode because sometimes people love having scientific kind of argumentation behind
Absolutely.
that, and that is why we do have it right away. Talking about the soft skills, talking about the networking as a technical person in a company. Um, this is also one of the commonly asked question. Do I have to, reach out for any use cases, or I will be given a use case by my team lead? How is that working in your team, Yasmin?
Yeah, very good questions, because I can imagine, and it was actually, to be honest, the same for me, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was so lucky that I was also, well, I was working next to my studies, right? But I was lucky to have this opportunity to already work in the field of data science while doing the studies. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a little bit of ideas, right? But I think this also really highly depends on the area and the team. How you organize. What I can tell you in my team, it's that me as the team lead would absolutely take the majority of the responsibility of selecting the projects, and then basically, like, doing a project selections based on what I'm thinking is the most also valuable projects for my company at
Mm-hmm.
that point, seeing a match with the skills of my team members. But usually I would not be in the situation to say, okay, Kate, you now have to do that, or there's absolutely no discussion about it. For most of the cases, we have the situation that we have too many ideas and projects and too little
Mm-hmm.
data scientists to work on. So we are in the lucky position to be able to need to prioritize by value, but also
Yeah.
to be able to select based,
Mm-hmm.
and basically that the team members can select their preferences also.
Mm-hmm. So it is not working the way that you are as a data scientist spending your time, like, I don't know, 8 hours
No,
looking
no.
for business projects,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So usually I think it's not the situation that you actually have
Mm-hmm.
to super actively go hunting if you're like a data scientist
Yeah.
in a company. It could come with more seniority, that you would be taking a higher stake in you also, selecting
Yeah.
projects or shaping
Mm-hmm.
project ideas more, right? But no,
Mm-hmm.
this should not be
Mm-hmm.
the case. If you have the feeling that half of your time you're just trying to find a new project,
Mm-hmm.
something's not going well.
Yeah. And what about also the databases? Because one of the also questions that I've heard, do I need to know databases in my company? Do I need to know all data that we do have in hands? Because, like, I mean, how that I'm supposed to give insights to the company if I don't know what I'm working with? Have you
Yeah.
ever been asked this question?
uh, like, to be honest, it
Yeah.
hasn't come up in that kind of reference. It was more around the topic of, all right, now
Hmm.
I want to be a data scientist. How important is it that I can read and work with SQL and big data, and
Okay.
do more
Hmm.
like the more data engineering side of things? And there I would definitely say it really depends on your setup. As mentioned, if you're like the only
Hmm.
data scientist working in maybe a startup, you would be
Hmm.
expected to cover the whole range. If
Yeah,
you're one of 100 data scientists in a more mature organization, usually there would be different roles taking over part of the process, right? So I don't
definitely.
know, how are you usually answering that
It
question?
is my answer as well. So if you're working for a company that has only 80 people, that definitely perhaps it will not be a lot of data and you will be with the time to get to know pretty much the whole database that they have. But when you're like working as, for example, for BSF, I'm not sure that how many years it will take me to understand the whole data structure that we do have in a company. So of course
Yeah.
not.
And I would say, the latest that that you ought to be responsible for it is like when everyone is looking at you when this question
Hmm.
is raised and you have nobody else to look at. Then you are responsible for it. Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's also okay to have a little bit of uncertainty, right? So
Hmm.
don't also expect that 100% of the details are going to be lined out for you as part of the application process. And sometimes things are moving super fast in the data science organizations as well, so
Hmm.
they are subject to change as well. So don't expect that you always have 100% transparency or clarity on
Yes.
exactly what's the next what the next day brings. And I think this is also the beauty of working in that area. It's like, if it's not for one thing, it's definitely not boring.
Definitely not. You will never get bored, or I don't know, you will like not challenged enough
Yeah,
technically in this kind of
yeah.
case. Yep, that's true. So, and maybe the last topic to cover for today, we're actually fitting right on time, I would say.
I
Like,
can't believe it.
yes. So, what about the development? Because this is, I guess, a very hard pain point right now, even not for fresh data scientists, but also for senior data scientists, as well as for team leads.
Yeah. So I think in general, the whole topic of development options as a data scientist is a topic that is only now becoming very, very prevalent in the field. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason for that is you've cited earlier, right, the HBR article from, I think it was 2010 or something, which means it's 14 years old or so by now, or was it
Yeah,
2012? I can't remember. So
you
roughly
can
a
check it out.
decade old. And of course, there have been people working in a data science related job before, but definitely
Mm-hmm.
not in that, in that numbers and amount that we see today. That means we have by now roughly maybe people that entered 10 years ago in the field, and
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to get more and more senior, right? Obviously. And this question arises at some point, what is the next development step? Like,
Yeah.
where can I still grow into? And I feel that this is also now popping up a lot because, as mentioned, we only are now in the situation that this question is arising more and more. And I feel that it is not really well discussed in many of the companies, right? And at least this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm getting from LinkedIn as well. And I mean, overall, I see two different options just in general, right? I mean, you can stay in that career track of being a data scientist and, get maybe from a senior data scientist into a principal data scientist position, maybe at some point taking over more and more the role of an
Yeah.
architect, of,
Mm-hmm.
instructing different parts, of being the more strategic person,
Yes.
which
Mm-hmm.
obviously means your data science programming part is going to reduce,
It reduces
maybe
definitely,
even
yes.
substantially by 40% or something, because you have to have
Mm-hmm.
more conversations with people. There's going to be more alignment. You have to devise architecture, and you know it,
Yeah,
right,
you have
Kate?
to do structures and etc.
Exactly. So it's not going to be exactly the same. But this is the responsibility that comes with more seniority, right? You would maybe be expected, the more senior you
Mm-hmm.
are, to supervise more junior people, to help them grow, to develop them. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
many of the colleagues and people working in that field are also starting to question, should I maybe, join the management track and become like a team lead and
Yeah.
really get actually out of the, say, more active programming and take on this more really management focused part.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
Mm-hmm.
like the third path, which I see, it's more of a lateral move of saying, okay, like data science, it was fun for the last 7 years or so, but
Mm-hmm.
actually I do enjoy so much to work in a teams. I would love to make teams more effective. So then maybe people start thinking about, should I get a agile a coach
Yeah.
certification and become like
Mm-hmm.
an agile coach, or
Yeah.
maybe what is also a quite
Mm-hmm.
popular role popping up nowadays more is developer relations. Have you heard about that before?
Developer, I have never heard about
Yes,
that. What is
developer
that?
relations. I think it's a mixture of still
Mm-hmm.
coding a little bit, but basically facilitating the development jobs and facilitating between the developers and other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So being
Mm-hmm.
like more in the stakeholder management
Ah,
position.
interesting.
It's quite interesting. So if someone is working in a job called developer relations, please reach
Yeah,
out to us, because I mean, I would love to get more insights about this as well, and maybe
definitely.
invite you as a guest to our podcast.
Yeah, to talk because honestly I've never heard about the term even like until you told me right now,
I
and
know
I'm
two popular data science influencers, if you want to call them
uh-huh
corporate influencers, who are in developer relations.
developer. I will just write like write it down for myself to look at that
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
So you see,
So.
there
Mhm.
there definitely are different options, and but I think as organizations, or as the data science industry as total,
Mhm.
um, maybe except if you're Google or Meta,
Yeah.
I don't think that many organizations have really properly structured it maybe that yet.
So let's say that overall you would have kind of on average two main streams. The first one, you want to stay as a senior data scientist, like as a principal data scientist. And the second stream is going to be that whether you would love to be on a team lead position and develop yourself to the executive level later of, let's say, like vice president of data.
Yeah, and as mentioned, otherwise, like maybe lateral moves, moving
Yeah.
into this more soft skill focused positions which also would highly benefit from a technical background, right? And I think that's where
Yeah.
I think that the beauty is, and this is something that I've also only realized a couple of few years back. You don't have to have a 10, 15 years plan. You can be
Oh,
open
no.
towards new opportunities, and also sometimes things and your life visions are changing, and this is also fully okay. I
Yeah,
think it's good to
definitely.
have a plan for the next months, the next maybe 1 or 2 years, but be open to also explore new things, explore new opportunities.
And
And
that's amazing, because this is also one of the questions that are asked about, like, what if I don't like to be a data scientist? As I answer myself all the time, I'm having the whole freedom for myself to say I would love to be a yoga teacher in 10 years, whatever it is. So definitely be very open to the different opportunities that you might have in the life.
And maybe you're even starting a podcast along the way. Who
Oh,
knows, right?
definitely, yes. Perfect. So I guess with that, we can definitely finish and draw the line of today's podcast. And it was very, I guess, incredible. We had a lot of information for you guys today. And it was like less water, more really hard stuff about a data science position. So if you would have any questions, please let us know. Also, you're totally feel free to message us directly on LinkedIn, as well as we also do accept messages, even voices messages on Spotify. So see you in the comments, and ciao ciao to the next one.
Bye-bye.
This was Diaries of a Data Scientist by Yasmin and Kate. And if you enjoyed the episode, remember to check out our YouTube channel and our LinkedIn pages for more engaging content from the data science world. Thank you for today, and seeing you in the comments.